Hey guys, in this video we are going to take a look at the cursor and pre-aim features that were introduced in version 6.7. So let's get started. First we go to the 4th tab here and let's start with the pre-aim. So we go to character custom skill. I'm going to create a skill and call it pre-aim, and all you have to do is just check this pre-aim ID here, and here is the aiming area. It's where is the range of your skill, basically the white area. And we can make this area change over time, or you can have it fixed for the tutorial. Let's just have a radius of 1 to 5. So it's going to grow from 1 to 5. And the aim result settings, we can change it. So by default, it lasts 10 seconds, and when the 10 seconds is over, you can either cancel or complete the pre-aim. I just want it to be infinite, and I don't want to filter whether it's true or not. On the aiming area, the only thing that you need to do here is change from whitelist to blocklist, because by default, if it's a whitelist, nothing is in the whitelist, so it will hit nothing. But if you want to filter whether you want to hit or not, and then we can go to aiming visuals and we can add a VFX here, and we can change the mount target of the VFX to be our cursor map position, and it can either be our cursor map position, so it will go outside the circle and show this VFX, or you can say cursor map position within range, so the VFX will only show within this white circle here, and that's what we want to do. And we need to create a VFX because it only allows VFX tools. So we go to the last tab here, new VFX tool. We need to make it persistent, and let's edit it. So we add event, warning effect. We check continuous playback, and you can add any of these that you want. I'm just going to use this X and make it a little above the ground, and maybe change the color to yellow. And that's all you need to do. So you can save, go back to your skill. Oops. You can also make your skill instant, so it doesn't play an animation. And if you go back to aiming visuals, we can just add this and save it. And now we need to add a node graph to our skill. So you can go to your window client and create a node graph skill. So I'm just going to call it pre-aim skill. And here, if you type pre-aim, you can see a few of the pre-aim nodes that you can use. You can, for example, get the duration and maybe multiply your damage by the duration or something. For this case, I just want to get the pre-aim result, and the pre-aim ID is just going to be 1. So you can see here, it just says 1. And we can find the position within range. And for example, I can play a VFX on the position within range. So I'm just going to say elemental. Let's spawn a electro elemental explosion on the position within range 1. And we can add this node graph to our skill. And before we start, you can change your camera to a 2.5D camera if you want. I think it's easier to use the pre-aim skill. So before we do that, let's add our skill to the character. So you can go to your character class, sword icon, pre-aim skill. And now we should be able to test play. So if you hold, you can see that the area increases as I hold. And within this range is going to be my VFX. So if the area is still growing, going to be very close to the player. If I let it grow, it's going to spawn further away from the player. And we can even move here, so it's going to be the position to move. So that will be it for the for the pre-aim. So let's take a look at the cursor feature. So I'm just going to delete my pre-aim skill. I'm going to create a new skill, which is going to be cursor click skill. And I need to say instant. And I just going to reuse the same node graph, save it. So we can go back to my pre-aim skill node graph, can just rename it to cursor click skill. So before you do that, it's already here. So before you do that, you need to enable the cursor to always show. You can either enable through nodes. So you go to the node graph here, I'll say cursor, and you can use this node to enable or disable the cursor, which will do basically the same thing here. And by default, it's going to hit all. So for example, it's going to hit anything on the map, whether it's the terrain or any object. So if you want to disable some of this stuff, which I think it's better, so let's just leave the cursor collision, so you can only click on things that have cursor collision. And so let's create something that has the cursor collision. So you can take any prefab that you can edit here, and you can go to edit, add component, you can say cursor collision box. So now I can just add a cursor collision, maybe make it smaller. And that's all you need. So let me just add a few more ones here, duplicate it. And then I think that's all we need. So let's go back to our node graph on the cursor click. And here we can use the cursor nodes, which we can check whether it is where it is on the screen. We can get whether it's active, but what we need is the cursor hit result. And we don't want to do anything if it didn't hit anything. So we can just say hits equals 0. So if hit nothing, we don't want to do anything. And then you can do a branch, and you only want to do something if it hit a valid entity or position. So you can either check the length of the list or the hits here. And I just want to play a VFX. So if the hits is not equal 0, let's just also play a elemental explosion. And the position is going to be the on hit position. Since we only allow one click here, we can, where? Here. We only allow one selectable target. So it's only going to ever hit one at once. If you allow more, this list might be bigger. So then you have to check what's closer, for example. But for this case, you can just say get corresponding value from list and get the ID of 0, which is the first position. And the only one in this case. And then so multiplier 1. And let's go back to our character class here and add the skill, the cursor click skill, to our normal attack. And now we should be able to test play. So now if I click anywhere here, nothing happens. But if I click in any of my torches here, it's going to spawn an effect, just like we wanted. So if you want to have more advanced logic, and you can't doing client node graph. You can also just make a signal. So for example, click entity, and then you just send signal here. Then you can, for example, you would do this. Then you have get corresponding value from the list 0. And then you go in your server node graph. Then you say monitor signal, click, and then you have the clicked entity. You can do something with it, or you can, maybe if it's multiplayer, you need to add some extra logic. But that's going to be it for the, at least the basic understanding of the cursor and pregame features. And I hope it was helpful, and I'll see you on the next one.